These clips were all posted in 2020 and early 2021, before the widespread pushback against wokeism. Back when big tech was heavily censoring and disallowing people to talk about the very things that are openly discussed today across social media. Before the Twitter files takeover. Before the accelerated decline of mainstream media, back when mainstream media was at its height and ruling supreme. Before the fall of CNN, before the collapse of a few banks and the FTC scandal, before the Supreme Court began dismantling liberal institutions, and before the sleeping giant of the Christian Reich began to make headway against Hollywood and the socialist institutions plaguing America. No worries, just opinion pieces spread across the pavement. Not all battlefields have clear lines of demarcation. Not all battlefields are strewn with the carcasses of those who have fallen. Littered with the moaning chorus of souls as their essence drains, their awareness completely away. Not all warriors are called to the shield wall, nor are all those embattled actually behold their enemies. We are in an information war, a digital dungeon that needs only to deceive the many to defeat the few. In this war, our friends are often closer than our family, a new kin guard with bonds tighter than blood could ever bind. We fight a war against those who hide behind their puppets, messengers and heralds that cry false narratives to the masses for unseen masters that siphon off our spirituality with their divisiveness. We are governed by insanities and untruths, by marionettes who have sold out whole nations just to dress their families in vanities. But this has all been foretold. The seers whispered these truths through the smoke of ancient brazen altars. The oracles were visited, and treasures of knowledge about the world to come was given to those before us. The sibyls danced the ritual prophecies under the influence of both smoke and shroom. And the prophets received their visions in the day before they taught the people at night. Do not be deceived by the ploys of iniquity, the casting down of the vilified, the dark lords, the horn blowers that have served the elite, the agent provocateurs of the night. These people the world has come to recognize. When the houses of the great fall, do not fall for the deception. When lords are brought down to the frenzy of the masses, when they cry freedom and shout for the heads of the guilty, of the oppressors, this magnificent series of toppled castles, coups, and victories, see that you do not join the masses. In this conflict are hordes of NPCs masquerading as conformists. Thousands of distractions devised to darken your understanding, to restrain you from basically a want to search for the spiritual. So many are lost in chasing demons, in pursuing perceived enemies in an effort to save them. But the treachery was committed eons ago, and we're victims of a war fought in dimensions far beyond our capacity to feel. The enemy is a hydra of pure hatred, and heads will devour each other as the worldwide Leviathan grows even more powerful by this false death, this false war, this false apocalypse, false defeat. For the people will raise an echelon of new rulers. The people will raise new kings and new heads of state, new horn blowers, and Leviathan will smile. For the new monstrosity of iniquity will be one that is specifically chosen, specifically empowered, and specifically defended by the people. Pillars are falling. Monuments long standing are sinking under the assault of another force. Long ago, a wave began to build, and its encroachment draws near, a tsunami of a divine essence for which this world has not enjoyed in a very long time. A resistance does emerge, a collective only now shedding their cocoons, a legion of souls who have survived the search through nether realms of Seeker. Yes, the kingdom of Seeker. Some of you know what I'm talking about. A new army of warriors of a very different armor, brandishing weapons this world cannot oppose. They have entered Rostal, and they have come back from the gates to walk among us, to stand disguised as us, to be us. When the darkness encompasses us with the war drums of chaos, the hidden one has always raised an army, invisible soldiers disguised in cloaks of darkness to the living dead, but illuminating the lives of those chosen to see spiritual things. Every avatar is ensnared in this web of multifaceted delusions, deceived by an enemy that it disguises the conflicts and hides assets, its troops being the unseen phenomena that afflict our lives, the rage, the appetites that can't be satiated, the addictions, wrong decisions, and empathy we feel when we see those who have fallen. Shakespeare was not wrong. All the world is a stage. Even if the U.S. military is taking down many in the deep state, I must offer this: the elite are unknown to the public, even unknown to the leaders of our world. There is a buffer echelon of billionaires, CEOs, military leaders, operatives. The enemy is not being defeated, but is constructing the illusion of defeat. This is easily done by the liquidation of these assets, the actual sacrifice of the entire strata of people they have networked that we refer to as the deep state. A tactical decision serves the purpose of deceit while also being a ritual sacrifice of pawns that secures the safety of the bigger pieces. The sacrifice of their own visibly public army of puppets is necessary because the awakening of the masses, the people have lost faith in these leaders, and they are aware of much of the corruption, so it's time for them to go. The creation of the illusion of victory is a tenet of the communist takeover agenda, which the Bolsheviks executed perfectly against the patriotic Russians in 1917 to 1919, spreading disinformation that the enemy was being dealt with behind the scenes and that everything was okay. Once the people realized it was untrue, it was too late. 22 million people disappeared into work-to-death camps. Evidence that this scenario is correct is the fact that the mainstream media, which has no army, no special forces, no armed assets, has continually, without interruption, streamed false narratives and pushed agendas, is still operating. Not one news studio has had any infiltration extraction forces enter them, stop, or force them to report the truth. The plummeting ratings of CBS, MSNBC, ABC News, CNN, all of them, the numerous liberal media, would have terminated any other show, series, or reality programming. No one could survive. But these are leftist media venues. To survive this absolute loss of viewers would not get their who now get their news from conservative platforms on social media means that they are funded and supported by a powerful enemy of the people, an invisible enemy who has remained untouched. And further, big tech and social media giants with impunity still edit, cancel, delete, and remove people and reports from their platforms following anti-patriotic agendas. Taking these 4 items into consideration, it is my belief that any resistance or success against the elite is part of the plan. That relief, victory for the patriots of many nations is coming, I cannot deny. But this subject, world events, it needs more analysis. So this is what I'll provide in a series of coming videos using isometric projections in our journey to separate fact from fiction. I do see good times coming, but it's part of the plan because of what follows. For all the media hype, the Russian-Ukraine conflict remains just that. Hype and a conflict, hardly erupting into any modicum of international degree. There's no World War III here. All the doomsayers were predicting it. It never happened. And it's not. So, not a single NATO nation employed their military against Russia. That should tell you something. There may occur an unusual distraction. World news. all over social media. Scientists are baffled but believing Earth has received its first extraterrestrial transmission. I don't believe it, but a whole lot of people will. There will be a change in the White House, a new Reich. They'll make two things their priority. One is energy independence, and then the filing of antitrust suits against big tech companies. Yes, there's going to be some conservative Republican retaliation against big tech for all the stuff they did in the last 2.5, 3 years. Another interesting aside is the fact that a member of the British royal family may come up missing before the end of the year or pass away before Christmas. It too will be world news. Now, what I see is that the conservatives, I'm a conservative and I'm a Republican, but I'm not with what I see coming. I see that the conservative and Republican basically voter base in November is being used by the other arm of the deep state to push the United States into a puritanical regime. Roe versus Wade was just the beginning. Overturning that was just the beginning. The United States is going to go to the far right. The left was given a shot to go as far left as they could. And now, to further destabilize the people of the United States, now the conservatives, the Republicans, they're going to be given full reign. You're going to see in November a total systematic cleansing of socialists and Democrats from the United States. They are going to be losing all their seats, all their governorships, all their senatorial seats. They're going to be losing all. They're going to lose the White House, everything. So it's going to be given to conservatives, and it's not going to go like you think it is. It's going to get really, really puritanical fast. And then we're going to have people in power who are going to start reinterpreting what an American citizen is. They're going to start reinterpreting what they're going to basically go back to older, antiquated tenets of interpreting the Constitution and what the Founding Fathers meant. A lot of people who think that their citizenship is secure in the United States, 5 or 6 years from now, they may be thinking otherwise. Yes, I'm not going to get too dark on you. We're going to wait for the rest of 2022, and then I'm going to do a summary. I am not worried about criticism. I don't care about people sending me emails or making comments on my YouTube channel talking about, you said this, but this hasn't happened yet. I don't care. I've made hundreds of predictions, and my track record's pretty damn good. But 2022's not over with, so I'm not inviting that type of scrutiny right now. You can make all the comments you want to, but in any time anyone is basically putting themselves out there and putting their reputations at risk and all that, you have to understand, it doesn't take but a modicum of intellect to be a critic. Anybody can disparage somebody's output or research. True intelligence comes from someone who is able to look at some material and basically assess its value, not critique it. Anybody can critique it. An 8-year-old kid can take every belief system that you have and just look you in the face and say, you can't prove it, I don't believe that. And there's nothing you really can do. So I don't care about that. I've already shown and published books. I wouldn't have been published by my publisher if I had not convinced him first. I have chapters on isometric projections and showing that the geometry of our space-time construction is patterned in these beautiful ripples that go forward and backward in time. And those ripples are events. And we are basically measuring event trajectories through time-space. Not everything in 1974 is going to unfold in 2022. And the greatest discoveries you can ever make are always in retrospect. This is the nature of time-space. Calendars are all implemented, not from the signal event that starts them, like the birth of Christ, or Muhammad's trek to Mecca to start the Hijra calendar. The Hijra calendar didn't start then. It started later when somebody had backdated it to that date. Every calendar is the same. A widespread reporting of the rescuing of children would occur throughout 2021 and 2022. The rift between reality and the fake news media will widen as people begin to waken up. But a major U.S. bank chain will collapse in 2022. Globalist-owned media would convince the public of false narratives. This all happened in 2021 and 2022. It's going to continue. Mainstream media would suffer a huge loss of face, a loss of viewers and popularity. And I have addressed this in my videos. There is no way that ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, BBC, Fox, so many other news networks in the United States and abroad could remain on television without being funded by an enemy. The reason I say this is because their ratings are so poor that any other shows would have been taken off the television. I have asserted that the hidden elitists are offering us a puppet show. Since so many socialist globalist leaders who serve this cryptocracy have fallen so far out of favor in the public in their respective nations, the media is being used as a tool to publicize all of their misdeeds. Social media accounts are permitted to report on these activities. These leaders are quickly being covered as pariahs, perverts, corrupt, and even total morons. It's all part of the script. This is all by design. This is the shadow state setting up for failure a whole entire echelon of fall guys so that when the good guys make their move, it will satisfy the angry and suffering populations. Heads will roll, imprisonments, tribunals, reveals, losses of power, prosecutions, executions. These puppets who today are heads of state are the sacrifice that preserves the power of the elite. These good guys are simply controlled opposition, and I include Trump in that. These good guys are another arm of the globalists. They serve the puppet masters, but the masses will praise them as saviors and heroes. These new heroes will overthrow the power of the world banks and usher in a new financial system that's fair and just for the people of all nations. The same New World Order financial system the bankers themselves have tried over and over without any success because of opposition from the people. It's the same system, it's just been presented and packaged differently. The people will demand investigations about the mandates, and a conspiracy will be reported this year in 2022. The guilty will be prosecuted and the people will be free of this malady. It is all by design. It was planned a long time ago. And the elite will have now strengthened their position by having puppets who are trusted by the people, even regarded as saviors. They will now have their new financial order, and the people will now be willing participants, where in the past, this Christian dominant nation and many other nations considered any new financial system like this to be the mark of the beast. Mainstream media and Hollywood, still controlled by the elite, begin a worldwide campaign to educate all people on the alien presence on Earth in the past. True evil disguises itself and always allows others to fall for real crimes that are concealed. True evil employs the scapegoat. The scapegoat is a puppet, a prop, a phenomenon designed to attract attention. When the scapegoat has served its purpose, it is sacrificed. The lesser evil is given exposure to mask pretty much the greater iniquity that empowered it. It's a cover. If I was the demiurge, the architect of deceit, I would pay close attention to the masses I had enslaved, drowned in debt and racial animus. I would reveal to them those responsible for their discontent, the billionaires, the CEOs, the political representatives that have never served their true interests. I would drive them to such desperation that the sudden media coverage, litigation, rumors about arrests and divorces, losses of power of the elite would fire up the hope of the masses. If I was the architect of deceit, I would put out a one world economic system, a cashless society. The masses have so vehemently resisted this beast system of the world banks. I would disguise it as a new financial system with a clever name, perhaps quantum, none realizing until it was too late that they had asked for the coming mark of the beast system. I would disguise it. The masses would be given heroes, and these heroes would be effective, very effective in perpetuating the deceit, because they truly believe that God favors what they're doing. They are patriots, perceived as having great moral character. The world banks that have come to be so hated would now experience a loss of power, arrests, confiscations. I would let the masses, they would witness the fall of their enemies. In the perfection of my deceit, I would sacrifice all my pawns, sycophants, puppets, politicians, and celebrities formerly protected would be thrown to the howling masses. As the architect of true evil, I would allow the masses to build their utopia, to construct their new society, and in the perpetuity of this false peace, I would raise among them a frenetic expectation of the imminent arrival of the Savior. If I was the architect of true evil, this is the plan that I would follow. I would have events unfold exactly as they are unfolding right now. You're going to hear a lot of things on YouTube in the next coming months about the Galactic Federation. Listen, man, don't buy into that bullshit. That was started in 1962 by the entity called cosmic awareness. Later on, cosmic consciousness. Don't fall into that trap. This is further deception about off-world manipulation. No, man, all the manipulation of the human race. The upper echelons that own the elite, and the elite own the media, every bit of that's coming from underground. Don't buy into all that UFO crap, all UFO activity. Listen, man, this is something I have studied extensively. Going back to the 1890s, almost 100% of all UFO activity, these unidentified objects were seen coming out of bodies of water or straight out the ground in mountainous areas and returning to them. They are not seen going in and out of our atmosphere. It's not these UFOs don't come from the stars, people. They're not even coming from the moon, which is a hologram hiding something else. They come straight out of the ground. If a true socialist takeover with the Biden administration had been successful, then there would be no resistance. The Bolsheviks did not allow any resistance. And this is nothing but a finger on the same fist. It's the same people trying to take over America. They did not succeed. Now, the reason so many people are blind to it is because they're continually allowing themselves to be jacked into the brainwash system we call mainstream media. Mainstream media tells you everything but the truth. When if they ever report the truth, it's because it does benefit their agendas, but that's very rare. What we are seeing right now is a huge division in the human family. Those who follow mainstream media and believe the narratives that are expounded, and the huge growing population of people who are now using YouTube, Facebook, and social media as their news sources, from people who are on the ground, people who are doing their own research, no longer listening to me, people who are deleting all the mainstream media pop-ups that pop up on their YouTube channel, like I do. Anything even remotely close to mainstream media, if it pops up on my YouTube deal, I now push in the ellipsis. I now push turn off notifications on that channel, and YouTube is steady finding more. I've already shut off so many hundreds of them. I'm now getting some weird ones, like some weird small town liberal gazette. I mean, all the big ones I've already stopped. So, but YouTube's going to continually push. They're going to do whatever they can. YouTube is an instrument of the opposition. Now, but the very fact that opposition exists and it can still use platforms like YouTube and release videos and not get shut off and censored means that the opposition is opposed. Because in a true socialist communist takeover, like when the Bolsheviks took over Russia, there is no resistance. It is a full 100% takeover. They mow over the people. They enslave them. They imprison them. They indoctrinate them. And within one generation, everybody is fucking atheist socialist. That's when I hear that Galactic Federation out of these people's mouths. It's like, oh, okay. So they divorced themselves. Here's a whole group of truthers who have divorced themselves from the mainstream narratives, and yet they have fallen prey to a very well constructed, cleverly put together false narrative about the Galactic Federation. A chain of banks, though, in 2023, they will either crash or they are absorbed by other banks. And this occurs in many nations, and yes, now Switzerland is included. If it's not a total collapse of these bank chains, then it is a systemic collapse of a type of banking. I need to make that distinction because what I was measuring kind of morphed on me the more I looked at it, and it wasn't so much a type of banks, it was an entire method of banking that I ended up analyzing. And I'll probably get to that here in a minute. So there's a high probability that the World Economic Forum is finished by the end of 2023. Moving on to 2024. Now, the EU and Switzerland free trade agreement will either end or it will be completely amended so as to be very different, fundamentally different than what it was in its inception. Now, this is really only important to the EU and Switzerland. Now, also in 2024, I found something very interesting. In this year, CERN will be prominent in the news worldwide. And in France, during the Olympics, there will be a very high signature for violence. You pretty much know what types of violence occurs at Olympic events. But we have strong isometric signals for the French Olympics in 2024. The incident with CERN, I don't know what it is. I can only imagine, but it's going to make world news. Sometime in the near future, Jerusalem will be captured, and in this way, this is how the elite will set the stage for the next crusade. They will ready the world to receive the first horseman. This planning began with the Balfour Declaration in 1917, authored by Walter Rothschild and Sir Arthur Balfour of England. It was the British who secured a home for the Jewish people. The plan is to have Jerusalem retaken by the Palestinians, Muslims of the Middle East. This will allow the elite to empower the Western nations to come together under a Christian coalition and invade the Middle East in an all-new crusade, which will basically roll out the red carpet for the apocalypse. Imagine a scenario where so many people have finally opened their eyes that the cryptocracy can no longer stem the tide of revelations. They can't stifle the masses. They no longer hold back the truth blossoming across the netscape. The world has awakened from its stupor of blindness and absolute ignorance, and suddenly YouTube and platforms everywhere explode with knowledge that has all been kept secret from the foundation of the world. We're heading there quickly. But the brighter the torch, the quicker the burning. But I also imagine that this ancient ruling body of invisible oligarchs have foreseen every bit of this and planned for the exact eventuality. They need a single event that will result with the ushering in of all their designs, a coup de grace. And that's about where we are right now, waiting to see what card they will play. Will it be an EMP blamed on an X-flare? Will it be an attack blamed on an extraterrestrial civilization? War? Will it be a total infrastructure collapse induced by AI? What cards do the elite have left in their deck? Got an idea? Leave it in the comments section.